The November 2024 Visa Bulletin brings significant updates, and in this video, we're going to break it all down for you. Whether you're looking for family-based immigration updates or employment-based visas, we've got you covered. But don't just watch. Stick around until the end, because we've got some predictions for the future of the visa process too. Let's start by looking at the key highlights from the November 2024 Visa Bulletin, and then we'll dive into some predictions. One of the most important things to remember is that the Visa Bulletin is updated every month by the U.S. Department of State. This bulletin outlines the availability of immigrant visa numbers and shows the priority dates for family-based and employment-based visa categories. It's crucial for people waiting in line to know when they can expect to move forward in their immigration process. For family-based categories, we're seeing some adjustments in priority dates, but nothing too shocking compared to previous months. The F1 category for unmarried sons and daughters of U.S. citizens is still current for most countries. However, we see some backlogs for countries like India, Mexico, and the Philippines. If you're in this category, make sure you check the priority dates for your specific country, because depending on where you're from, it could affect how long you have to wait. Moving on to family-based categories, the F2A category, which covers spouses and children of lawful permanent residents, remains current for all countries. This is great news for those waiting for a green card through a family connection, as this category tends to have fewer delays. The F2B category, which is for unmarried sons and daughters of lawful permanent residents, also shows some progress for countries with backlogs, though those waiting from India and Mexico might see a longer wait. Meanwhile, EB3 visas, which are for skilled workers, professionals, and other workers, are showing some slight improvements as well. For countries like the Philippines and Mexico, the cutoff dates are now moving forward. However, India's EB3 category still faces considerable delays. It's worth noting that this is the category with the longest wait times for Indian nationals, so patience will be key here. For family-based immigration, expect to see gradual improvements as more priority dates move forward. However, for countries with large immigrant populations, like Mexico and the Philippines, the demand for visas remains high, meaning that applicants could face long waits. We're not likely to see the backlog completely disappear, but with some countries seeing more favorable processing times, you may get your visa sooner than expected. Now let's talk about some changes we might see in the future. The Biden administration has been making efforts to improve the U.S. immigration system. For example, there are discussions about removing per-country limits for green cards, which would allow people from countries like India to move through the process faster. This could potentially address some of the bottlenecks we're seeing in employment-based visa categories. However, such changes would require legislation, which could take time. Another factor to consider is the potential for future expansions in visa categories. For example, there have been talks about creating new visa options for individuals in specialized fields, like technology or healthcare. If this happens, it could open up more opportunities for people in these industries to gain permanent residency in the U.S., thus reducing the competition for existing visa slots. But let's also be realistic. The visa process is complicated, and the system is constantly changing. One thing we know for sure is that patience is essential, especially if you're waiting for a visa from a country like India or China. It's always best to stay updated on the latest visa bulletin and consult with an immigration attorney if you need advice on your specific situation. As we wrap up, remember that this is just 1 month's update. The process is fluid and changes happen often. It's essential to keep an eye on each month's visa bulletin to stay ahead of the game. If you're serious about immigrating to the U.S., it's important to stay proactive, track your priority date, and plan ahead. And now, as promised, we'll leave you with a bit of a light-hearted thought. If the U.S. immigration process were a race, it'd probably look something like the tortoise and the hare. Slow and steady might win the race, but don't be surprised if you get a few surprises along the way. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more updates on the Visa Bulletin, immigration news, and all things U.S. immigration. Got questions or thoughts? Drop them in the comments below. I love hearing from you. Until next time, stay informed and stay positive. You never know when that visa might come through.